once again, for those who are just getting settled in here, thank you all so much for joining us tonight. Just going to give another minute or so before we get into tonight's presentation. For anyone who is interested in learning more about Sports Recruits or has any questions kind of throughout, we're going to utilize the Q&A in the chat box section for that. So we're definitely going to have some time for some questions at the end. So we'll make sure to answer as many as we can with the time that we have remaining.
We're also going to walk through some of the package options that we offer at Sports Recruits and the pricing and upgraded plans. This can get a little confusing, so I'm going to drop a link into the chat as well so that anybody who's interested in learning more wants to schedule a call and we can walk through it together one-on-one. And there's plenty of availability the next couple of weeks, so you can pick a time that works best for you.
All right, perfect. Okay, I think it looks like our numbers are starting to level out here a little bit. So I think now is a good time to get started. So once again, welcome everyone to tonight's presentation, which is the importance of June 15th, what to do moving forward, the importance of it, how we're going to handle everything as a potential student athlete. Before we get into the slides, we first want to introduce ourselves. My name is Mike. I'm a senior recruiting analyst here at Sports Recruits. What my role is working people who are specifically looking for additional support in the recruiting process, whether that be assistance with videos, communication with college coaches, making sure we put together a good game plan, finding events, whatever it is, we want to make sure that people feel they have that helping hand that they're looking for. My personal background as an athlete is a football player, played at the Division III level at a school called Mount Ida College, which is right outside of Boston in Newton, Massachusetts. And I also had the opportunity to work as a graduate assistant for Long Island University as well.
Awesome. I'm Caroline. I work on the B2C sales side at Sports Recruits, which means I really work with families like you all, helping introduce you to Sports Recruits, explaining the different package options that we offer, ultimately help you find the right fit as a family move forward, answering any questions that you have, especially at the beginning of your recruiting process when it's all brand new. A little bit of background on me. I went to Penn State. I worked with the women's soccer program for several years while I was there, and then went on to work at US Soccer. And I always tell families that, you know, I've worked with student athletes at a really high level, high Division I, and then obviously on the national team. And it really student athlete, no matter what you're playing at D1, D2, D3 in your college, the recruiting process can be really overwhelming, but there are so many great opportunities out there to continue playing in college. So yeah, Sports Recruits is great. We'll help you find the right fit. And Mike and I are going to talk through, specifics around this summer.
Yeah, thank you, Caroline. And like she mentioned, we are very excited to kind of walk everyone through what ultimately is the significance of this day more than anything else. As Caroline did just throw in her calendar links, if anyone does learn about more of those packages, feel free to utilize that. But in terms of tonight's agenda, we're going to start off just by explaining, first of all, the importance of June 15th, who specifically is impacted at what division within the NCAA, what you can expect as a student athlete, particularly if you are in the class of 2026, and also how to just get a better sense of where you stand and what steps you should take moving forward as a student athlete. Once we get through that, that's when Caroline's going to be able to give you a bit of a deep dive on how Sports Recruits, how you can best utilize the platform, how it can help when it comes to your communication with coaches, how you can put together a list of schools amongst some other things, and then just a quick breakdown of the different packages that we do offer for those who are looking for that additional support. Once again, for those who may have just joined, if anyone does have any questions throughout tonight's presentation, feel free to utilize the chat box and the Q&A section. We'll keep an eye on it throughout the meeting, but we're also going to save some time for the end to answer as many questions as we can also. So let's get right into it, everyone. The importance of June 15th. Ultimately, for those who don't know, this is going to be a date where communication with college coaches continuously starts to open up, particularly with the class of 2026. So those who just finished your sophomore year, rising into junior year, this is who is going to be directly affected by this day. At the Division I level, there's a distinct specific sports that utilize June 15th as this particular contact date. We're at the Division II level. This is across every sport that is sanctioned by the NCAA. We're going to go into what those particular sports are in just the slide here. But again, really the biggest thing that we want everyone to understand about this day is that college coaches can now begin to initiate or engage in recruiting related discussions. Now, for those of you who might be a little bit younger than the class of 2026 on this meeting, that doesn't necessarily mean that you should wait to start your outreach to college coaches until you get to that date next year. Um, Ultimately, the college coaches are the ones who are limited in terms of what they can say to you at a D1 and D2 level. So if you are a 2027 graduate for high school, if you did reach out to a Division I's coach, they still could respond and they still could give you information about their prospect camps they're hosting, or they can send you a link to their recruiting questionnaire. They just wouldn't be able to have those recruiting related discussions, talking about offers, setting up a visit, things of that nature. In terms of who exactly is impacted, again, at that D1 level, I'm sure a lot of you are interested. All NCAA sports, except the slides that you see on the screen here on the left-hand side, and we also included the contact dates for each of those sports as well. So men's ice hockey, for any ice hockey players, you already have reached that contact date, as well as women's basketball. It was just a couple of weeks ago on June 1st at the D1 level. Baseball is coming up on August 1st, and then softball, men's lacrosse, and women's lacrosse are all on September 1st as well. And just to bring the point home, if you are interested in Division II schools, regardless of the sport that you play, this upcoming June 15th date is going to be something that you are considering here. We also want to include this graphic here on the right-hand side of our screen. Feel free to utilize a screenshot if you did want to keep an eye on this, if you wanted to get a better sense of when you can start unofficial visits, when off-campus contact can start with some of these schools. We also will be sending a recording of this webinar as well. It's automatically going to be sent to you just by registering. So if you don't catch it right now, no need to worry. You're also going to be able to access that sometime tomorrow too. But again, really the biggest thing we want everyone to kind of get a hold on here is if you are in the class of 2026, you either have already gotten to the point where Division I schools are able to have those recruiting related discussions with you, or it's coming up. And if you're interested in Division II schools specifically, regardless of the sport that you play, that communication is really going to start opening up in just a couple of weeks here. In terms of the expectation that you can have in terms of what you can really see from college coaches, again, they can now contact you via email, you can get phone calls, you can get text messages, and it can be a lot more direct in terms of what they think of you as a student athlete. We really like your style of play. We think that you would be a great fit here. Some people may even potentially send out offers as early as June 15th. I would say, generally speaking, that's something that isn't as common. Usually coaches want to give you an opportunity to come and see the campus for yourself, meet the coaching staff, meet with the admissions department. So it is possible, but more often than not, this is going to be the beginning stages of having those recruiting related discussions. Also, depending on the conference, again, when it comes to those offers, they might actually be relatively limited in terms of how they can even send out those offers. But usually you're going to be able to at least get a better indication of what those college coaches, what type of interest they have in you, and if they do want to kind of take that next step forward with you in some way, shape, or form. Now, keep in mind, if you have schools on your list that don't reach out to you right away on June 15th, that's no reason to panic whatsoever. Like we were just saying, it's at the beginning stages really for a lot of these college coaches. They can really make those introductions, but it doesn't necessarily mean June 16th comes around, if you didn't hear from anyone, that those schools are automatically off of your list. You're going to have time to still catch up, still get noticed by these college programs. This is just the date where a lot of this stuff is really going to get moving in that right direction. In terms of how to know where you stand and the steps that you could be taking moving forward, again, a great indicator of what those coaches think of you is if you do receive that outreach, right? Did someone give you a call? Did someone send you a personalized message, whether that be through text or through email? Did someone reach out to one of your coaches, for example? And also, have you talked to any of your athletic advocates, like a club coach or a high school coach, as we referred here, about your target list if you haven't heard from any of those particular programs? Maybe it's a good time to potentially venture out and add a variety of schools for yourself at that point. Division III, JUCO, NAIA options may not have been on your radar at this point in time, but it could be a good time to have a bit of variety in those programs at this point. Also, there's going to be some programs, even though they have that June 15th contact date, they might not necessarily utilize it that way. And they do want to take their time in that process a little bit more as well. They might be waiting for upcoming recruiting events later on this summer. So again, if you get that reaction and you start getting that interest, that's great. You should be very happy with that. But it also doesn't guarantee that an offer from that school is coming. And if you didn't hear from anyone, I should say, that doesn't automatically mean those coaches are not interested. So one way or the other, we don't want you guys to overreact to really any sort of the communication that could be happening from these college coaches once we get to the 15th.
Yeah, families all the time. This is the start of the contact period, patience is so important. This is a long journey from where you're starting right now, June 15th, towards when you're either getting an offer or signing or, committing to a school. So, don't think of it as, okay, June 15th, everything's going to happen. This is just the start. Consistent.
Yeah, exactly right. So to kind of just continue with some steps to take moving forward, one type of message that we sometimes recommend for student athletes, particularly who have been really good at consistent communication leading up to the 15th as they are a rising junior, is something that we call a feet to fire message. For those who aren't aware of what that means, it's essentially a way to ask a college coach where exactly you stand on their list, and if it would be worth your time continuing that direct communication. So to give you kind of an idea of what that message would look like, hello, Coach Jones. Thank you so much for taking the time to evaluate me, throughout this recruiting process so far. I just wanted to reach out and see, now that we are past June 15th, where exactly I stand with your program. If you still are looking for 2026 attackmen, I'd love to speak to you more directly. Maybe we can schedule some time to talk at some point on the phone if you have the availability. Now, again, keep in mind, this is not the type of message that we would recommend if you've never contacted these college programs before. We're saying if you've reached out, you've introduced yourself, you've sent updated highlight reels, you've been to events where they've seen you in person before, then you've essentially earned the right to ask for that direct feedback. If they don't have much of a basis of who you are and what you're all about, then we would recommend sending that feet to fire message that we're referring to. Also, as you get past June 15th, continue your communication and continue to stay consistent. Don't give up on these schools if you don't hear back right away, unless they have explicitly told you that they are no longer recruiting your graduation year within your position. So if you have events that you're attending that coaches will be in attendance, make sure you send your schedule. If you're going to their prospect camp, make sure to give them a heads up. If you just attended their prospect camp, ask for feedback and see if they can give you an insight on how they think you performed. Updating videos, new test scores, academic updates, anything that is going to be helpful in their evaluation of you as a student athlete, you should 100% to continue to have that consistency. If you are able to set up calls, again, we wouldn't recommend trying to schedule phone calls if it's the first or second time that you're contacting those schools. But if you have been communicative, you have been consistent, then we definitely suggest, at some point during the summertime, maybe not on the 15th or 16th right away, but at some point during the summer, you should feel comfortable, reaching out and seeing if that would be something that they're interested in. As we were mentioning before, casting a wider net is also a great idea as well. Try and expand and find some different schools. And Caroline's going to show you in a little bit how SportsRecruits directly can also make that a bit of an easier process for you. And again, I know we're trying to sound repetitive here, but that's ultimately because we want to really make sure that you all feel that there is no need to panic if you don't get this communication right away. Even if you're someone who signed on to this meeting and you never sent an email to a college coach before, don't worry. You're not late to the point where there's going to be no schools remaining. That's not the point of this meeting. We're not trying to scare anyone out of the recruiting process. We just want to make it clear what exactly these rules and what these communication dates in particular mean and what they could mean for you if you have been consistent with your communication up to this point. Now I'm going to kick it over to Caroline, and she can give all of you a better understanding of how SportsRecruits can help with this process directly.
Perfect. Yeah. And Mike had some really great advice, and all of that's valid. I am having some difficulties with my internet. So if it's cutting out a lot, Mike's going to jump in. He knows the SportsRecruits platform backwards and forwards, just like I do. So he can take it away. But when we talk about the important pieces to the puzzle when it comes to the college recruiting process, and especially with gaining online exposure with student athletes and college coaches, your SportsRecruits profile really can be your recruiting home base. When we say that, you're trying to paint a picture in a college coach's mind of who you are, both on and off the field or on and off the court, in and out of the pool, depending on your sport. Your SportsRecruits profile is like having a recruiting resume for yourself. So that should be step one if you're just starting your recruiting process, is building your profile. Profile picture is really important. Coaches want to know who they're looking for at an event. That's pretty self-explanatory. Graduation date, what position do you play? Not just your primary position, secondary positions as well. Where are you from? Video on your profile. Video is the most requested piece of information that we get from college coaches. They want to see your video. They want to see you play. going to a showcase is super important, but having video to show coaches is going to be super impactful for your recruiting process, giving them almost like a trailer to a movie as to who you are as an athlete. And you can see it right there. Yeah, athletes with a profile picture receive 3 times the amount of views. And we might have it later on in the presentation. Student athletes with video on their profile receive 11 times the amount of views. So just hammering home how important that is.
One thing I want to make note of when it comes to the profile picture too, particularly if you're in what we call a helmet sport. So lacrosse players, the players, make sure you're utilizing a picture where your face is visible in the photo. We understand that there's a lot of great action shots out there, and that would be something that would be, appealing to use. But if you're going to have a chance to compete in front of these coaches this summer, they want to be able to put a name to that face, right? So it's extremely important that you are able to give them that opportunity. So if they do see you in person at some point, just going to make things a bit easier for them for sure.
Yeah, my cheeky comment on that would be they're looking at a baseball profile. They know you play baseball. They want to see who they're looking for. So yeah, jersey picture's great, school picture's great.
Yeah, that's a great point.
So, you've got your profile and now you're thinking, all right, well, who do I reach out to? How many schools am I supposed to contact? How do I know if a school is the right fit for me or not? Again, you don't have to have your entire life planned out on day one. Starting to think about a couple of these different factors here can make this process a lot less overwhelming. Depending on your sport, there could be almost 2,000 programs in your sport, which gets super overwhelming, right? So looking at these 5 factors, academics, athletics, geographic, social fit, financial fit, if you can start to drill down a couple of these academically, what are you looking for as a student? Are there certain majors that you're really interested in? Are you looking for a high academic school? Are there certain considerations that you need from your academics? Are you looking to go, trying to graduate with a nursing degree? That can be a huge factor in the schools that you're choosing academically. Athletically, you should talk with your athlete advocates. I'd actually love to hear from Mike on this with finding the right athletic fit. That's really challenging, of course. I always recommend to families give yourself a wide range of options, similar to no one would just apply to Harvard and hope that they get in. Same thing goes for athletics. You really do want to make sure that you've got a wide range of options athletically. So Mike, if you want to jump in on that.
Yeah, I agree with that completely. Even when I meet a family for the first time and they tell me my number one goal is to play at a Division I school in my particular sport, I still make the recommendation to have a variety of divisions within the target list of schools that you're looking to build. At the very least, we're talking about this communication date today, right? If you're someone who is starting the process a bit earlier, Division III schools, you may have noticed we haven't really discussed them directly because they don't have those same communication regulations that we're referring to at the D1 and D2 level. In theory, a D3 school might be interested in talking to you more specifically, and then you can get practice with what those phone calls and how those conversations go. Also, another thing to keep in mind from the athletic perspective too is yes, a lot of people have the goal of playing Division I, but the reality of it is it may take you until junior or senior year before you actually start seeing significant playing time. We're dropping down a little bit. You may have an opportunity to be a 3-year starter or a 4-year starter. There's no right or wrong way to go about it, but these are just different things that we want people to at least consider, especially when they are first starting on this process, without a doubt.
Completely. And again, like with these different categories here, factors here, I'll meet with families and they'll tell me, I have no idea what school I want to go to. That's a good thing. I don't think you should have an exact idea of which school you should go to because you could potentially be disappointed. But when we start to ask the right questions around what kind of school do you see yourself at, I still sometimes hear, I have no idea. And when you start to ask questions of, okay, do you want your parents to be able to come see you play every weekend? Great. So now we should be looking at schools in driving distance. That's going to already narrow down just a ton. Do you want to try and study abroad? Okay, that's going to be in that social category and academic category that's going to help narrow down your list. There are a lot of pieces here, big school, small school, that's important to keep in mind. Our recruiting analysts, such as Mike, help families with this a lot, trying to build a target list of schools that match your goals as a family. So we can help a lot with this. And we also have the advanced school search tool, which I think might be on the next slide there, Mike, that you can use to start building that list of schools. But yeah, 20 to 30 schools is a good aim to start. If you are thinking you want to try and play at the Division I level, I actually recommend upping that number a little bit just because it is so highly competitive. But yeah, you don't have to have your entire life planned out on day one. You should have a range of options, a range of schools. And when you're building that list of schools, you're not just favoriting schools and then waiting to see what happens. You're reaching out to those coaches and introducing yourself. But this video here, or this GIF here, shows you how to use the school search tool. This can really help you out. This is going to allow you to filter schools based on the criteria that we're talking about. Location, great example. Different majors that the school offers. How big is the school? How academically selective is the school? What division or conference do they play in? You can start to play around here and favorite those schools for yourself.
Yeah, it's a great point. And also continuing to utilize multiple filters as well, particularly if you are looking at a little bit of a lower level. A lot of people probably have some common knowledge about some Division I programs, right? You see them play on ESPN, you're following certain athletes, generally. This is a great way to potentially find some of those schools that you might not know the name of, but they end up checking off a lot of the boxes that are important to you.
Mm-hmm. Cool. So reasons to contact college coaches. Mike actually started to go into this earlier with, okay, I know I'm supposed to email coaches. Everybody's telling me you got to email coaches. When should I reach out? What should I say in these emails? So a couple of reasons, obviously introducing yourself. Again, me with my snarky comments to families, unless you are the Caitlin Clark of your sport, you probably aren't going to have coaches banging down your door. And if you haven't reached out to them, they may not know that you're interested in their program. So introducing yourself, step one. Around event season, we're coming up on event season. Summer is here. You should always be contacting coaches prior to an event and after an event. Thanking them for coming and seeing you play if they did, or pointing them in the direction of video that they could watch from the event if they weren't able to see you play. These showcases can be expensive. Tournaments are a lot of travel. You're putting a lot of effort and resources into these events that you're attending. You should try and make the most of it by contacting coaches and getting yourself on their radar prior to the event so that you're on their list to go watch in person. You just finished your second semester. You're probably going to have new grades coming in if you don't already. That's another great reason to contact all your coaches. And when I say contact coaches, everybody on that list. So your transcripts, maybe you've got an SAT that you feel really confident about that you want to share with a coach. You're not badgering these coaches by reaching out to them. They want to hear from you. They want to hear that you're interested in their program still, and they want to see this new information. So you might as well point them in the right direction. Video, we can't say it enough, huge piece to the puzzle when it comes to college recruiting. When you upload a video on your profile, coaches may see that in their Discover feed, but you should never rely on that. You should always be contacting coaches, letting them know, hey, I got a new highlight reel. I'd love it if you could watch, skills video, etc. Like Mike said before, setting up a visit, setting up a phone call, that should come a little later on when you've already been in contact with that coach. All these examples of when to contact coaches, we actually have templates for at SportsRecruits. So if you're, really struggling with, hey, what exactly should I say in this email? I'm having a really hard time drafting it up. We have templates. When we walk through the packages at the end, I'll explain a little bit about that. But yeah, we have lots of examples of how you should structure this contact.
Awesome.
And then we make it really easy for you to use to contact these coaches. It can take hours and hours of time trying to find coaches' contact information if you're using your personal email. And then you're sending out your emails and crossing your fingers, hoping for the best, hoping that coach takes a look. We've made it really easy with the SportsRecruits messaging system. We've databased every college coach's email address into our system. So say you want to reach out to university, you're going to type in Duke University to that messaging system. Their coaches will pop up. You select which coaches you want to contact, type up what you want to say in the subject line, type up what you want to say in the body of the email. At the bottom of any email you send through our messaging system, it will automatically link your SportsRecruits profile. So when Coach Babich clicks on your profile, they're going to be pulled right into your page and see all of that great information posted for them. Contact a coach. It's very easy will evaluate you. You don't want to try and tell your life story in email. You want to pull them into your profile to see all this great information. A question I get from families often is, what does the email look like to a coach? Do they use this messaging system? When you email a college coach through our messaging system, it is going to their normal.edu email address, and it just says Caroline Jones, and then the subject line. And it's also going to their Recruits inbox. So there's no way they're not seeing your email. Again, it is the best way to reach out to coaches. It's a direct email, personal email, not canned, not a blast email. It's going right to them. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, I was just you made the point for me actually when it comes to just trying to make these messages consistent and also personal in any way that you can. We understand that there is a philosophy of recruiting where you contact as many schools as you can with the same exact email. For some people that may work. We believe much more in having much more of a targeted approach, and that's why the time that you save on finding the college coach emails using this messaging system hopefully gives you that opportunity to make things a bit more specific with the programs that you're looking to contact. Yes, but exactly. I think you did a great job explaining that as well.
True. You won't get as frustrated. You'll be able to focus on your emails. All right, cool. So this is one of my favorite pieces to Sports Recruits. I just think it's awesome. So, you're sending all your emails, you're building your target list, you're uploading video, you're doing everything we're telling you to do. You want to see that feedback coming back towards you. The Sports Recruits activity feed tells you when colleges are looking at you. So, as you can see in this video here, Bucknell University viewed your profile. Duke University viewed this video at this time. So all of that activity is tracked in your on the actual platform. You also, if you put your phone number onto the profile and your email address, you will also get a text message notification and an email notification when coaches are looking at you. So it gives you more transparency into what's going on, especially during this hectic time when, coaches are evaluating a lot of student athletes.
Awesome.
So this is an important piece of, okay, we've got this activity feed telling you when coaches are looking at your profile, when they're looking at your video. How are you supposed to react? How are you supposed to respond? What's appropriate? What's basically recruiting etiquette? I think, Mike, you can talk really well to this as you speak with families and you're basically coaching student athletes on the recruiting process. If you could jump in here, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's something that comes up a lot where, of course, we're happy that people get extremely excited when they see a video view, a profile view, a transcript view, whatever that situation may be, because it's that you're getting that confirmation that there is some level of interest there, which is extremely exciting. However, it doesn't necessarily mean that, again, it's a guaranteed high level of interest or an offer is coming right away. So we kind of want to just, I guess, establish what exactly that means more than anything else. If you are receiving views, whether it be from someone that you have contacted before or someone that ended up finding their way onto your profile just by doing a search on their end, it's still fantastic news. But as you start to kind of consider, if I receive a view from this school, is this a school that I would be interested in going to? If I don't have a ton of background knowledge on what they are, let me make sure that I do some research and see what that would entail. Is this a program that does match with what I think makes sense for me from an academic and athletic perspective, in addition to all those other factors that Caroline walked us through before? Also, when it comes to receiving a view during an event, if you find out that you did receive some sort of profile view or video view while you're at a tournament, don't necessarily feel like you have to respond or have to contact that coaching staff right away. And also, as you get these views, try to reach out to your athletic advocates, your club coaches, your college coaches to determine, what would be the best thing to say. Maybe they might have a direct relationship with one of these coaches and they can make an introduction or at least speak on your behalf in some way. In terms of things to stay away from, we definitely don't want to reach out and say to the coach, hey, I saw you looked at my profile, or I saw that you looked at my video. That just comes off as a bit aggressive. It comes off as a little bit I don't know if over the top is the right way to explain it, but I think that's just not the best experience from a college coach perspective. Also, a view doesn't necessarily mean that there is like a guaranteed high level of interest. So you don't want to necessarily put yourself in that situation altogether. Also, if you are a parent and you don't have a high level direct relationship with that coaching staff, do not make this very, very clear. Do not go up to coaches in person. They are actively recruiting. They are not there to have side conversations while they're watching events, while they're going to different fields. That is almost a great way to guarantee that that coaching staff would not want to move forward with your son or daughter in the recruiting process. So let them do their thing. Let them do what they are there to do, which is recruit the athletes that are out in the field. If, of course, if you have a personal relationship or a coach comes up and says hello to you, of course, you can, be cordial and have that conversation. But in terms of you leading the way when it comes to that, that's definitely something that we don't suggest.
Mm-hmm. Cool. So we'll walk through the different package options. Again, this is where it can get a little bit confusing. So, I'll drop that link to schedule a call as well to learn more about these packages, but we'll walk through a couple of pieces here. Awesome. So right off the bat, we have 4 different membership options at SportsRecruits, 4 different packages to choose from. The first being the Pro Plan, which is offered on either an annual or a monthly basis. Sometimes I like to refer to the Pro Plan as like having a gym membership to SportsRecruits, where you have all of the tools on the platform to use on your own. So the messaging system would be unlocked that we showed you, where you're able to contact college coaches directly. The college coach view tracking is unlocked, so you can see which colleges are viewing your profile, watching your video, checking out your academic transcripts, looking at your press links. And then depending on your sport, the roster needs search filter will also be unlocked. That is where you can see which colleges have open roster spots in your position and your grad year. One thing that I did want to also circle back to is the college coach experience on SportsRecruits and how college coaches utilize our platform. So obviously evaluating student athletes is the whole point of this, right? They want to connect with student athletes that might be the right fit for their program. A reason to have an optimized profile on SportsRecruits, meaning video, position, grad year, grades, stats, press links, all the stuff that we keep talking about. College coaches have a search similar to your school search tool as a student athlete. College coaches have a search tool that allows them to find student athletes that are meeting the criteria that they need. So again, another reason to fill out your profile, regardless of what membership you have.
Absolutely.
So that's the Pro Plan. It's the only one that you would be paying for on an annual basis. And we'll jump towards the recruiting guidance plans now, which are actually lifetime memberships. So when I say lifetime access to pro features. If you are a freshman or you're a sophomore right now, if you purchase a recruiting guidance plan, which would be silver, gold, or platinum, you're not paying each year. You're just the plan once, and you're all set through graduation. That includes through college graduation or to enter the transfer portal or change schools. So the silver package will start there. This is a great plan for families who want somebody to get them started. Sometimes I say it's a recruiting starter kit. You have lifetime access to the pro features, so you're all set on the platform. We will build you one professional highlight reel. We have an in-house post-production team at SportsRecruits where your footage, shorts you want to include in that video, and they put the isolation effects on. They'll physically clip the video, title card, music, format it correctly, right? This package also includes an hour-long recruiting strategy session with a recruiting analyst. This is a huge piece to the silver package. To use my cheesy, corny comparison of the pro plan as like a gym membership, think of the silver package as getting that membership and starting immediately with a personal training session, okay? You're gonna sit down with a recruiting analyst face-to-face on Zoom, and they're gonna help you optimize your profile, create a personalized game plan for your goals and your priorities as a family for college recruiting. They'll show you how to use the profile and the platform to the best of your abilities. And then, of course, they will also answer specific questions about the recruiting process, whether that's around scholarships or visits, timeline, eligibility, kind of a crash course in your recruiting process.
Yeah, awesome.
The gold package is our middle tier here. It's definitely the most popular for a couple of reasons that I can highlight immediately. Difference between the gold package and the silver package. Silver package, again, after that strategy session, you guys are on your own. So it's just to get you started. The gold package is great for families who say, hey, strategy session sounds awesome, but I know we're going to have more questions than that. We're going to need help throughout this process, whether that's around, hey, what should I say back to this email? Or I have a scholarship question. A coach invited me on a visit and we're trying to prepare. We're about to get on the phone with a coach. We're wondering what questions they're going to be asking. All of these little questions that inevitably come up along the way. If you have the gold package, you have all via email, so you can reach out to our recruiting analyst team at any time. You still have that first strategy session, of course, and you also have 2 professional highlight reel credits instead of 1, so you can use those credits as you wish.
Awesome.
And then the most hands-on package, and I do recommend the Platinum package for first-time families going through the recruiting process, either the Platinum or the Gold package if you're a first-time family, because it is a long journey. The Platinum package is great for families who really want somebody to be sitting right next to them every step of the way. So with this package, you would have a dedicated recruiting analyst who's working with your family one-on-one. So they're helping you with recruiting timelines, picking out the right fit schools, drafting all the emails, helping you with your video, prepping you for phone calls. They'll even help you choose which camps and showcases to attend based on your list of schools. They will walk you through the financial scholarship, this process. It's really, a great offer for families who want to kind of take the reins with them. You have unlimited recruiting strategy sessions and phone calls with your recruiting analysts. And then you also have unlimited professional highlight reel credits. So basically, SportsRecruits will be building all of your highlight reels if you have the Platinum package.
Awesome. You cut out there a little bit, Caroline, but I think we got
Okay.
the consensus, and I think ultimately it's a hands-on process. All of the bullet points that you see down there is ultimately what you would be receiving support with. As someone who works with families at the Platinum level, we receive different types of questions all the time, building specific reports, helping people get a better understanding of, academic selectivity, how competitive these schools are from a standpoint of how many student athletes are reaching out to these college coaches. So, it really
Yeah.
is a package that just ends up giving you that opportunity to just really kind of have someone in your corner who is working with you on the same team, in a sense. I look at what my role is as an analyst, as someone who is your success is my success. I really do kind of consider it that way. So hopefully that just kind of
Mm-hmm.
clarifies the differences of what those packages are.
Perfect.
Cool. Okay, everybody. So thank you all so much to anyone who did kind of make it to the end here. And we know it was a ton of information, but hopefully it was valuable for you as well. So now we're going to try and get to some of these questions that we did receive here in the Q&A portion. So thank you all for your patience who did write some things in here. So the first one that I see, someone who wrote in right at the beginning of the meeting, is in regards to the contact date. So what is the difference of August 1st and June 15th for baseball? August 1st is the date from a Division I perspective of this direct communication that we've been talking about, where June 15th is going to be the date for Division II programs. So if you're receiving Division II interest, we are 10 days away from you being able to have that direct contact with any schools that have interest in you. Division I schools are going to have to wait a little bit later on this summer, particularly for the class of 2026. Just wanted to make that clear. Let's see what else we have here. Division III contact dates. Caroline, maybe that's something that you can add some color on if there is anything in particular that they need to know about Division III when it comes to recruiting rules.
So for Division III, sometimes I refer to Division III as the Wild West. They can't offer athletic scholarships, so they don't have the same rules and regulations. They can have recruiting conversations with student athletes at any time. So have those same restrictions. This June 15th date is just for D1 and D2.
Yeah, well said. Yeah, ultimately, that's why we always say, even if you only have that D1 interest, still have some D3 schools on your list because they have those same guardrails that D1 and D2 have. Someone's asking specifically for women's swimming. If you didn't see any of the sports that we had listed there, you can just assume that June 15th is a date for Division I and Division II, just to kind of keep record of that. Let's see what else we have here. Just seeing a couple of repetitive questions, so we want to make sure that we do the most here with the time that we have left. Let's see what we have.
I think somebody asked about, for profile picture, do you recommend a headshot versus an action shot? Mike, answered that earlier on, which is great. Definitely do a headshot so coaches know who to look for.
Let's see. Yeah, exactly. Well said there. Uh, Sorry, guys, just trying to siphon through here just some of the things that we haven't answered just yet.
Oh, this is a good one. Do you have any tips for multi-sport athletes as far as constructing their profile? We work with a lot of multi-sport athletes at Sports Recruits. How the actual platform works, say you're a women's soccer player, but you're also looking to maybe get recruited in basketball, you're going to set up two profiles. So one for basketball, one for soccer,
Yeah.
because again, when we were using that messaging system, if you type in Duke University, it's going to show you the soccer coaches if you're on your soccer profile. But they're all linked together, so you can toggle back and forth.
Yeah. I have two back to back here that I'll quickly answer. Someone asks, is when it comes to events, should I send one email per event, or can I include multiple events per email? If you're getting ready for the summer season right now, it's a great idea to send kind of like a full recap of what is coming up. However, for any tournaments that you're going to, for example, it's important to make your schedule accessible. What field number, jersey number, the times of the games that you're going to be competing in, just to make it as easy as possible for those coaches to see you. So I think it's a bit of a mixed bag in a sense. You want to make sure that you do make it as easy as possible to be evaluated by these college coaches, but sending a little bit of a recap of where they can potentially see you play in person is also a good idea. The second question that I'll answer also, 2026 grads, it's more likely that you're not going to have SAT or ACT scores. Totally understandable. If you don't have them yet, do not panic. That's something that is very common for people who are going into junior year. As for the recommending when you take those exams, it's going to be that's an individual decision for each student athlete. Reaching out to the people, your athletic advocates specifically would be my recommendation. Making sure the curriculum that you are taking while you're in your high school, that you have all of the course requirements completed to have a really good grasp of what's going to be on those exams. That's ultimately going to be the most important piece of when you want to take that exam for the first time, and hopefully you give yourself an opportunity to take it more than once. All right, I think we might have time for like one or two more here, Caroline. So if you see anything else, feel free to let us know.
I actually see a question that I like here. What do you recommend doing if you are interested in attending a school that is not in your area and would not attend showcases you will play at? This is where video is crucial. Video is going to be a great way for you to get exposure and introduce yourself as a player to that coach outside of an in-person recruiting event. So again, that's something that you could do from home. If they're not going to be at a showcase in your area or that you're playing at, that's a great opportunity to send video. We work with international student athletes where video is the main piece to their recruiting process.
Awesome. And then again, I said one more, but we'll give you two more quick ones. Someone just asked us to talk about the NCAA Eligibility Center. It's a fantastic question. So that's something that is specifically required for any programs that you may end up attending at the Division I or Division II level. It's essentially a way to confirm with the NCAA that you're going to be academically eligible by the time that you become a college freshman. We also have on our help desk additional information on how you can receive that eligibility number. It is recommended that you start looking into receiving that number by the time that you're kind of right in the situation we're now, end of sophomore, start of junior year. I believe it's around $100 for a U.S. citizen to receive the ID number, and a little bit more expensive for any international athletes who might be on the meeting. And the last thing that I'm going to answer on my end, Carolyn, if there's anything else you'd like to answer, feel free to as well. Let's see, I just lost it. Maybe it was something that we already answered before. So if you see anything else, Caroline, feel free.
Yeah, and there's a ton of really great questions in here. Please schedule a call. Like, click on that link, schedule a call. I will walk you through all of this, and we can have a more one-to-one conversation. So that's probably the best bet at this point, is scheduling a call. It's 15, 20 minutes max, and we'll talk through all this stuff. So click on that link.
That's perfect. Well, again, thank you all so much for coming into this meeting, asking these questions, gives us a much better idea of what you're looking to achieve and get a better understanding of. So really appreciate everyone taking the time to give us an opportunity to explain this further. Hopefully you all feel a bit more knowledgeable about what exactly this date means. Not that you're going to have to panic or worry or get super excited or overly excited about what the communication is going to look like moving forward. If anyone has, any questions, definitely make sure that you do schedule a meeting with Caroline. She's going to be able to walk you through what those different package options are as well. But yeah, thank you all again so much, everyone. Really appreciate your time, and hopefully we see you on some future webinars down the road as well.
Thanks, guys.